It's always an honor every time I talk to a small business owner. This is no exception, but this is a special moment for me. I'm sitting here at Tom and Ray's in Damascus, Maryland. It's a restaurant that means an awful lot to an awful lot of people that have grown up in and around Damascus. I'm here with Bernie Moxley. Thank you for letting me be here with you today.
Steve, thank you for coming in. We appreciate having you.
Yeah, we enjoy Tom and Ray's. It's not the Tom and Ray's we knew growing up, but it is Tom and Ray's in every aspect except building. Could you just tell me a little bit more about Tom and Ray's?
Well, actually, we've been in the community since 1960. The original owner, Tom Bellison, hired me when I was going to Damascus High School. So I worked a couple of years, my first job, and just enjoyed it. And one thing that Tom and Ray's has historically done, and we continue to do, is we're a source of first-time employment for a lot of the teens. So we pride ourselves on that. And we've always focused on buying local and also homemade as much as humanly possible. Even though that's getting stretched in today's world with labor costs, you have to start taking that consideration. But we're still proud to say we get 100% of our desserts are made in-house.
And I had some just the other night. They were awesome as always.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that. And it's always a task sometimes trying to keep it up. And so folks, we got ample supply because there's a big demand for it. But
now you talk about first-time employers or employment here. This was your high school job. Now, working at a restaurant or a diner like this and your first-time employment, that's not limiting, right? It's almost expanding. So where did your career take you after you left high school?
Well, it's rather interesting. I had actually I worked at a restaurant in Urbana. It was called the Peter Pan Inn for a year.
I missed that place.
And it was a place that, and I was a kitchen manager there. I was 18 years old. It was a corporate. I was the youngest kitchen manager in the history of the corporation. But what I ultimately decided to do was I ended up joining the U.S. Army. And so I enlisted in the Army for 5.5 years, and I was a food inspector. So, I still was able to stay in the food business and really enjoyed that, traveled some very interesting places and had some great experiences. Then I applied for a ROTC scholarship. I was accepted, which I didn't know how I was accepted, but I was. And then I went to school, graduated, and then was commissioned as a second lieutenant. Ended up serving another 26 years as an officer, and then I retired.
Yeah, retired as a full colonel.
As a colonel, yes.
So just so y'all know, he's a very successful man.
So,
coming out of starting at Tom and Ray's as his first job.
That's right.
Now, and we have a number of our classmates that have gone in. Your classmates and mine, we're a couple years apart. I think I was 81. You were 80.
I was 80.
You were 80, so we're a year apart. Many of our classmates went on to successful careers in the military and outside of the military as well.
Exactly.
I know one of my classmates is a surgeon and retired as a colonel as well. So Tom and Ray's, then, you were not the owners when you were in high school. It started in 1960. Now, this is a very rural community, so it was easy at the time to buy local. A couple things. What changed that you're now the owner, and then what's changed in the ability to buy local?
Well, I would say what changed for us was Tommy Bellison, and again, the original owners were Tommy Bellison and Ray Loon. But
hence Tom and Ray's.
Hence Tom and Ray's, that's right. And there was a couple of ownership changes through the years, and then ultimately back in 2016, the owner was Gary Bellison. That was Tom's son, and Gary wasn't doing so well medically, and so he had made the decision to sell the location up there on Main Street. And once that happened, it was, and I remember very, very keenly, it was January, and it was kind of like something died, when Tom and Ray's actually closed, because I always tell people that every small community needs a Tom and Ray's where people come to, where they talk. One thing we have here that is very different from a lot of the other restaurants, we don't have TVs here. We focus on people talking, and really it's about community. And you'll see people come in all the time, and they'll know each other. They come across, they talk, and that's really the essence. Again, the fabric of the community. and that's what we
we're
want
sitting
it
here,
to
we're
be.
talking now, but for those of you that are kind of thinking the background noise might be a little annoying, that's Tom and Ray's.
Yes,
It's
is
exactly what it is. And more than once, we've been back here. We find Tom and Ray's. It's one of the things we always do when we come home. And somebody will come in that we knew when we were here in high school. And it's just a great meeting place. And one of the other things you talk about, when we grew up, Damascus was dry.
Yes, yes.
It's not anymore.
It is not, yeah.
But you still are.
Yes, we are.
Why is that?
Yeah, well, there's several reasons. One, again, I believe in 2012 was when there was a referendum and they allowed the sale of beer and wine. It was a conscious decision on our part. A big reason is, I mentioned earlier, that Tom and Ray's started as a family restaurant, and we felt it was important to have a family restaurant. And so, and also one of our big sellers, I always like to joke that, we sell a lot of pancakes. And somehow, and
an awesome sausage and gravy.
And awesome sausage and gravy, and great grits too, which I'm going to enjoy here in a little bit. But the thing is that pancakes don't go well with beer. I'm one of those people. So I'm not against the alcohol, but another big factor is, I mentioned that first-time employment. We hire people can work as young as 14, and we do hire 14, 15, 16-year-olds. And having alcohol around, number one, just trying to work around that would mean that our younger folks would have less opportunity to work. So that was a key reason for us to make that decision. But as I tell people that want to have a drink, I always tell them, hey, come to Tom and Ray's and eat, then go and have your drink. So
that's a great way to do it.
That's it.
So now you've gone through your program in some parts, but what are some of the challenges you face as a small business owner who was in the industry, but then you did a lot of other stuff in the Army, and now you're owning a restaurant? What are some of the challenges you faced?
Well, it is. Having the background knowledge is something, experience. Being a small business owner, one thing I'll tell you, I don't care if you do something in the government, even like you talk about payroll. There's a difference. When I was in the Army, payroll was something I was concerned about as a commander or as a supervisor of people, make sure they got paid. But I'm not the one who had to generate the money. And when you're a small business owner and you have the responsibility for payroll, that is a whole different dynamic, not just the process itself, but also ensuring and realizing that you have people's lives in your hands. And so you have to make prudent business decisions to ensure that they are paid and paid correctly and timely.
When you took over a restaurant that had been a fixture in this town since 1960, was it well received? Was there pushback because it's different? What was the experience like?
Well, actually, there was no pushback whatsoever. We were very well received. I remember when we opened, we were overwhelmed actually, and to be frank about it, and we were so overwhelmed, and we had inexperienced people here, and it was a challenge. I'll tell you, after about 3 days, I had to close the restaurant because we needed to do a reset. It was just, we had people, and really the challenge was that we weren't able to dedicate the customer experience or to improve and enhance the customer experience because we were lacking, frankly. And a lot of that fell on me because there was some training issues, and so I basically said, look, we have to stop, and we took I think it was 2 days off. Just closed the doors, but we were actually working behind. We were going over, figuring out what do we need to do to improve the experience. Also, make sure the cooks were doing the right things, and that really was invaluable. And I know a lot of people say, my God, you closed or something, or you're getting this tidal wave. And really, to me, it's always about the customer experience. And if I can't deliver that, then I shouldn't be doing this.
So now you have a decision here, and we saw it on your door, and we drove up here for dinner Thursday night. And there was a conversation in the car about, well, what other days that they're open? You're open Wednesday through Sunday.
Correct.
So you've made a decision to be closed on Monday and Tuesday.
Yes.
What drives a decision like that, and how do you answer someone who says, why aren't you open all 7 days?
Well, so just to put things in perspective, prior to COVID, we were open 6 days a week. We closed on Tuesdays. But once COVID started, we maintained our schedule, But then when people weren't showing up and the traffic was getting less, we started closing down, and then we went to what we thought was our busiest times. So for most of COVID, we were open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then just a month ago, we decided to open up on Wednesday.
That explains the argument in the car.
Okay.
They're closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No, the sign says
Yes.
Monday, Tuesday. That explains
So
it.
it is, and we're still dealing with people coming, but again, the traffic's picking up every week now they know we're open. But what I don't want to do, and it's making decisions when you're dealing with an unpredictable environment like COVID, so it's something that I really don't want to be going back and forth, because that's what, as you've noticed that when you experience that people get confused, and I really want to minimize that as much as humanly possible. So that's why we said, okay, we're going to open on Wednesday, and we're committed to that as long as government doesn't take certain actions that'll really,
like here in Montgomery County, where they're
necessitate.
requiring masks again indoors, except when eating.
Correct. That's exactly right. And so.
And these aren't props. We actually are eating.
Yes, we are.
We're
We are.
just too busy talking.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're exactly right. So it really is no different than the military in that when you're making decisions, you constantly have to think about your environment, your operating environment, and you've got to. Sometimes you have to, I think, be conservative, because another thing too is when you're talking about opening up another day, what does that mean? That means for me, actually, now I'm open 5 days. So if I opened up an additional day, I'm going to have to hire more people. And again, that's okay in regular times. But again, what the worst case scenario for me that I could do is hire more people. The COVID, restrictions become, enhanced, and then I have to close and then lay people off. And so I'm not really serving anybody's purposes by doing that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to maybe reduce your scope of what you're doing to enable the people that you have to keep their jobs and keep revenue coming in to pay it.
Yeah.
And since you brought up COVID, and we've talked about, I still view this as my community here in Damascus, and you obviously came back to it. You did a lot of things besides your restaurant during COVID as Tom and Ray's. Could you talk just a little about some of the things you did to help out?
Yeah. One of the key thing, we have always been, Tom and Ray's have been a mainstay in supporting the community. It's and we continue that. And I have to say, my wife, who's a co-owner, she's also a full-time nurse. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to get into this, but when it initially happened, she was very concerned about the school children when they closed the schools, because she was concerned about the children not being able to eat.
They don't get their lunches that they would get during
Exactly.
the day, especially the families that have lower income and can't afford it.
Correct. You're exactly right, Steve. And so she was like, hey, we need to do something. So we started collecting food in order to do like backpacks to help the kids. And then as soon as we started accumulating these goods, and it was canned goods and non-perishables at the beginning, that the school or the government said, hey, we're going to open the schools up just to come and get food. So that was like, okay, that's taken care of. The kids are going to be okay. And so now we got this food. What are we going to do with it? And so we said, well, let's have free food distribution. So we went through the first 2 weeks. I tell you, our customers, both we took some of it out of us predominantly, but also as their customers came and delivered non-perishable goods. You talk about community and having people that care about the community. It was really responsive.
For me, that's really nice to hear in Damascus, a place that was much smaller when you and I were in high school.
Yes, that's right.
It still has, in many ways, that same small community feel and caring for each other, even though it's, not small anymore.
No, I mean, especially not like it was when we went to school. It's different. But the thing is, I still feel that Damascus has that small town mentality. And it's kind of like when we have football games. It's the show like Friday Night Lights. People take football very serious here, and it's something where it brings the community together. And so I think there's still that element of a small town community, and I think that even small towns can get a little bigger and still be a small town community. In terms of mentality.
I will say though, you just highlighted something that for me kind of hurts. It's how old we are. We didn't have Friday night lights growing up. We had Saturday football games. So
Yes.
We had JV in the morning, and we had varsity in the afternoon. And of course, here in Damascus, if you weren't anybody, if you weren't also in the marching band.
Right.
I'm not sure if that holds true anywhere anymore.
That's it. Well, the marching band was, it was, and still is a big fixture in the community.
And Tom and Ray's was involved back then with supporting the football team and all the other sports, and you were very involved with. Tom and Ray's was very involved with the band and everything else.
Right.
And the Bellisons certainly were.
Yes, absolutely. Tom Bellison was very committed to supporting the community, and to us it's just essential. And just going back to the food distribution event, so that turned out, just real quickly, that turned into us actually having 33 free food distribution events during COVID, and so we're really proud of that, and we were able to tap in with the county to get food. Also, we evolved going from the non-perishable, and then we started going to basically having fresh food and vegetables, and then we have cereal, and then we would have sometimes we'd have butter, and then we'd have eggs. So we wanted to give stuff that we realized, because everybody was doing the cans and all that, but we wanted to give access to fresh fruit and vegetables, and it helped being a restaurant and to acquire those goods.
Yeah. So you mentioned you buy local. Now, I worked at Butler's Orchard when I was in high school.
Yep.
That was my job. So what are some of the local farms you support, or that support you by providing you, selling you the food?
Right, you're selling, that's it, that's it.
We support each other by buying from each other.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. And so we've, a fixture, I guess our longest relationship has been with the Mount Airy Meat Locker, also known as Wagner's Meats. We've always gotten our sausage from there, and so I definitely would recommend it.
It was awesome in the sausage and gravy.
It's very good. Yes, and so now we get our strip steaks from them, and they're phenomenal.
I had that Thursday night.
As a matter of fact, I had a gentleman that sat right here last night that said, I've not had a steak in 7 years. He said, this is the best steak I think I've ever had in my life. So I was really happy to hear that. And as I told him, I just say that, and all we do with it, we have an open flame grill. I said we put salt and pepper on it, because I think if it's a good steak, it'll speak for itself. Absolutely. And so that's great. We also go to, we've got a turkey farm, so that it's called Show Enough Turkey Farm, and we get our whole turkeys, and we also get turkey breasts from them. And we have so what we do, we bring it in, we slow roast it, and people love. One of our traditional favorites has been our hot open-faced turkey sandwich, and then we use the breast meat to make what's called Rachel's, which is basically
it's a Reuben sandwich. It's
a Reuben with turkey, which people love. I'll tell you, I'm a traditionalist, so I love just the regular Reuben. And then we've also we do go to the farms, and so we do have a number of farms. We go with Pleasant Valley. We get our ground beef from. Also, they just delivered some corn last week, which was absolutely phenomenal. We've also used, and we do in season, Butler's Orchard. We buy from them. Right now in season, we've got, of course, peaches, and we have strawberries. So we use Butler's also.
And we had the peach pie and the strawberry pie, those handmade desserts or homemade desserts.
They're homemade, exactly. And so it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's, there's nothing better than buying local and staying local. And we do. We always try to buy local as much as possible. As a matter of fact, I got a corned beef hash here that we actually get from a local producer. And people say, why do you go and buy it? Because they make it better than we can. We've gone through, we've tried. I said, this is a phenomenal product. And so I'm actually eating the Luck of the Irish, which is our a corned beef hash and cheese, and it's just great.
That's good. So, well, thank you. I really do appreciate you taking the time and letting us hear a little bit of the history of a place that I love and a place that you obviously loved a lot and still do.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it so much.
Now take the time. If you liked hearing this or any of the other things, click this video and like it. Click subscribe so you know when the next ones come. You'll be able to get those, and click the bell so it notifies you when the next ones come. Because we want to keep talking to businesses like this so you can learn from these businesses and, figure out how to grow your own. Thanks for joining us today.